To many Iraqis, Uday Hussein looked like the next ruler. Palaces, expensive cars, public appearances. Behind that glare, he was already building a record of domination over women in Iraq. After the public glare, the story drops back to Baghdad, Iraq's capital. June 18, 1964. Uday Hussein was born there into wealth, privilege, and protection. His father, Saddam Hussein, was rising fast inside the ruling Ba'ath Party. His mother, Sajida Talfa, came from a respected family tied to Saddam's relatives. Uday was the eldest son, and people treated him like the next ruler. At home, he lived under guards with private tutors, drivers, and bodyguards around him. Private tutors came to the house, while drivers and bodyguards stayed near the door. He never faced ordinary limits. The courtyard stayed closed, and engines kept running outside the gate. While other children walked to school, he rode in expensive cars, wore designer clothes, and ate with politicians and generals. At that age, most children were still playing outside. Nothing stopped him. Discipline did not. Every wish arrived instantly, and every mistake vanished before it could cost him. Saddam taught his children that mercy was weakness, and loyalty mattered more than truth. Uday watched his father's violent temper, the purges, and the executions. He learned early that fear controlled people better than kindness. That lesson stayed in the house. At Baghdad College and other elite schools, he bragged about his father's power and expected everyone to treat him like royalty. Students looked away in silence. He hurt animals for amusement. He slapped anyone who protested. He insulted them after that. Teachers at Baghdad College and the other elite schools could not handle him, and his father's power made every warning disappear. At the Baghdad College of Medicine, it only got worse. He arrived late, drunk, and in a flashy car. Professors could not discipline him. His guards threatened or beat the students he targeted. He had no interest in medicine, only in using the school as a stage for his arrogance. His father's position protected him. No consequence ever reached him. Every time he got into trouble, someone else took the punishment. The people around him learned to stay quiet, smile, and pretend nothing was wrong. That silence had a price. No longer a boy, by the late 1980s, Uday's power had reached a level that let him ruin lives with one order. Saddam handed him several posts. He led the Iraqi Olympic Committee, the National Media Network, and youth organizations. Officially, he was tied to sports, television, and the younger generation. In practice, those titles put athletes, journalists, students, and especially young women within his reach. His palace stood in Baghdad's Al-Jadriya district. The district sits on Baghdad's East Bank. Outside, it showed golden gates, guards at every corner, and manicured gardens. Inside, there was Italian marble, gold-plated chandeliers, expensive cars, rare antiques, mirrors, and silk-covered furniture. The shine hid the rest. Inside, the screams stopped. Lives vanished without a trace. Luxury cars rolled through Baghdad with guards at the windows. They scanned university campuses, shopping districts, and wedding venues for young women who drew his attention. Baghdad sat beside the Tigris River, but the convoy kept moving. His men offered gifts first. They offered scholarships as well. Then the car door opened. His men took others in daylight, with no disguise and no warning. Families who reported missing daughters got one message: stay quiet. Everyone knew the name behind the convoy. No police officer moved against Saddam's son. By night, the halls changed. The polished rooms became places of terror. The marble and mirrors flashed. His guards tortured or humiliated women for hours. His guards killed some afterward to erase traces. Others stayed for days. Then his men dumped them out of sight. Every morning, new faces appeared. Next day, they disappeared from view. The same cruelty crossed class and nationality. His men pulled some from parties and social gatherings. His guards watched carefully for anyone who stood out. Lebanese and Filipino women were hit especially hard. European women living in Baghdad for work vanished too. The government kept their files closed. Because he was Saddam's son, No one intervened.
What had stayed hidden before now broke in public. In 1988, Iraq was marking the end of the 8-year war with Iran. Saddam Hussein's family staged a wedding in Baghdad for Watban Ibrahim al-Takriti, Uday's uncle. The hall was packed with top officials, foreign guests, and Ba'ath Party members. Everything in the room was meant to show power, unity, and joy. Music played through the hall while Uday was drinking heavily that night. He had built a reputation for that. Then he saw Kamel Hana Jageo talking with his mother Sajida and believed something inappropriate was happening. Kamel worked close to the family. He served as Saddam's personal valet. He also arranged private events and brought women into Saddam's inner circle. Uday's anger locked onto him. He grabbed a weapon, with some accounts naming a knife and others a club. The room had no time to react. Guests froze. Some screamed. Uday kept hitting Kamel until he collapsed and died on the spot. Blood covered the floor. The wife of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak was there as a guest of honor. What had been private inside the palace now happened in front of everyone. The wedding turned into a diplomatic scandal, and Saddam could not ignore the damage.
Saddam answered fast. The arrest came at once. His guards dragged Uday out of the palace, and the message was clear before anyone dared to speak. The wedding scandal had crossed the palace line, and now it reached the father. Many officials thought Saddam might even execute his son. He chose less. In 1989, he sent Uday to Switzerland under the cover of study, and exile replaced the palace for a while. The road out of Baghdad stayed cold and quiet, with only the steady engine noise under the silence. Switzerland was neutral, and Uday treated it like a private escape. He drove expensive cars through clean streets. He hosted parties and lived in luxury, far from the palace walls. The distance did not produce remorse. He showed no regret for the murder. After a few months, he said he was sick and demanded to come back for medical treatment. Saddam allowed it, from guilt or from weakness. When Uday returned to Iraq, the punishment had failed, and he understood the worst crime had not cost him his life. That made him bolder. That boldness now had cover. When Iraq entered Kuwait in August 1990, Uday read the invasion as permission. Kuwait was small, but the war swallowed it fast. Iraqi forces captured thousands of Kuwaitis and dragged them back to Iraq, including women and young girls. Some went into prisons, others went into detention centers. Men in Saddam's circle took a few as rewards. War gave him a pool of captives, and he moved through it at once. Uday sent his men into prisons and military camps. They pulled out women he found attractive and moved them to Baghdad. Teenagers came too. His men took some straight from detention centers. The palace was the destination, and the gate shut behind them. There was no exit. Inside, the war became a private game. Guards beat them, burned them, and assaulted them for hours. Later, Iraqi defectors said Uday laughed and watched. He filmed many of the attacks. He kept the footage as trophies. The same control reached beyond the camera. He controlled Iraq's media outlets. Phones vanished before the interview. Doors closed behind them hard. Uday Hussein, Saddam Hussein's eldest son, also controlled schools, television stations, and theaters across the country. And he summoned young actresses, models, and singers to his offices under the cover of patriotic interviews or cultural programs. Baghdad lies on the Tigris. Most never came back alive. Families that searched for daughters were threatened or arrested. A popular singer in Baghdad got an invitation to perform at one of Uday's private parties in 1992. She refused his advances there. No one said her name. He attacked her in front of his guests, broke her bones, and left her badly injured. Her career ended that night. Weeks later, people found her body. Officials covered the case up fast. Parents begged their daughters to stay away from parties or government invitations. Beauty, talent, and fame had become dangerous. The same fear reached the stadiums. Uday Hussein ran Iraq's Football Federation and Olympic Committee, and medals became a weapon. He turned sports into terror. He enjoyed seeing people suffer. It became part of his daily routine. Failure meant punishment. A loss on the field could end in a cell. Some were beaten with cables, locked in prison, or had their feet crushed with wooden clubs. Others were sent to military jails. Those who protested were forced to run long distances on broken legs. Pain was the rule. Women were summoned to his office to discuss their results. He called them in under that excuse. He sexually assaulted them there. Coaches and teammates knew, but stepping in could cost their lives. Some later fled Iraq. Many others vanished.
Even his own guards feared him. One told investigators that Uday shot a man in the leg just to test a new gun. Another account said he released starving dogs onto prisoners as punishment. Women were forced to dance for him while he held a gun in his hand, and when he grew bored, he killed. Outside, he wore suits and military uniforms. Inside, he ruled through fear and humiliation. The men guarding him gave investigators the details. Those details turned into a street ambush. In December 1996, gunmen opened fire on his car in Baghdad's Mansour district. Witnesses heard more than 50 rounds ripping through the street. His guards froze in place. By the time they reacted, the attackers were gone. The car came out riddled with holes. Uday was found bleeding heavily, barely alive. Baghdad's Ibn al-Nafis hospital worked for hours to save him. Doctors pulled out 16 bullets from his body. One round hit his spine. He was partially paralyzed. He never walked properly again. For months, he needed help just to stand or move. Rumors spread that Saddam was not sure he would survive. Uday did survive. The attack made him worse.
So the house hardened. Dozens of armed men moved in. Cameras covered every wall. He stopped going out in public. He stayed behind closed doors. But the anger did not cool. It turned into revenge against anyone he tied to the attack. Security forces raided homes without warning. His men pulled families out at night. Some they tortured for confessions. He punished women too, for being related to or even knowing people he mistrusted. In Baghdad, residents whispered about the list. Names vanished one by one. That fear did not stay on the street. It hardened inside the palace too. Uday had been hurt. He did not soften. He turned vengeful. Qusay was the younger brother, born in 1966. Uday was born in 1964. Qusay stayed calm and organized, and he stayed loyal to their father. While Uday chased attention and luxury, Qusay ran Iraq's security forces and intelligence agencies out of the spotlight. Saddam trusted Qusay more. Uday's reckless behavior kept damaging the family's image. Soon, Saddam treated Qusay as the successor. That sent Uday into jealousy and rage. He said the eldest son was the rightful heir, but his temper and scandals had already wrecked that claim. In front of other people, he insulted Qusay, called him boring, and threatened him while drunk. Guards had to pull them apart at family gatherings. By the late 1990s, the rivalry had become quiet hatred, and each brother had his own circle of power.
After the family feud turned into private power, Baghdad fell, and Uday's sealed world opened to daylight. American troops entered his properties and found rooms dressed like a palace. That was the real layout. Below them, the basement told another story. Torture chambers sat under the floors. Bloodstains marked the ground. Chains hung on the walls. Electric cables were still attached. Soldiers also found golden pistols, diamond-encrusted weapons, photographs, recordings, women's clothing, and jewelry. The documents and tapes pointed to kidnappings, torture, and murder. Once the regime collapsed, people who had stayed silent started talking. Police officers, ministers, and military commanders all knew. They said nothing. Baghdad is the capital of Iraq. When the capital fell, Uday's world collapsed with it.
Uday and Qusay ran north. Mosul gave them cover, not safety. The last loyalists hid them in safe houses, and for months the brothers shifted from one villa to another while American and Iraqi forces hunted them through the city. Saddam was already in hiding. The family's fear broke apart piece by piece. Uday still refused to surrender. Every move bought time, and time was running out quickly. The delay ended on July 22, 2003. A local informant led U.S. troops to a villa in Mosul, Iraq's second-largest city on the Tigris, and the soldiers sealed the house from the outside. They held the position for nearly 4 hours. Uday and Qusay fired from inside and refused to come out. Gunfire and explosions ripped through the villa until it was reduced to rubble. DNA tests later confirmed both identities, and Baghdad filled with crowds. Many Iraqis cried from relief. For thousands of families, it came too late. Mothers kept searching for missing daughters. Women still carried torture scars. In their homes, the silence stayed. Lives stayed broken.